So yes, welcome to Radio Yoga Beyond the Mat. And so today we've gathered to really unpack why the Gita is such an important text. It's considered as the original self-help book or even a life manual. So like fancy cars, gadgets come with manuals. When we are in this body as a spirit soul, navigating Prakriti, nature, and finding a calling and doing our Swadharma and also our Nitya Dharma or Sanatan Dharma, soul's eternal duty, and try to balance both. Literally, that's not easy, and it leads to a lot of confusion. Life's problems give us reasons to lament what our actions were in the past, or even very often we regret closer to the end of life that we did not live the life to the fullest. So there's lamentation, there's fear of the future, and confusion. That in yoga is called suffering in a way. Suffering is not what the trigger is, which is, your lust, anger, greed, pride, envy, attachment, are your unnatural ways to deal and live in the world. But when you act on those six enemies of the mind, again, I'll repeat: lust, anger, greed, pride, envy, and attachment, the consequences that you suffer lead you to suffering. And that suffering has been categorized beautifully in these three terms, which is fear, lamentation, and confusion. And these are related to state of time. So fear is fearing the future. Lamentation is something grieving about the past. And confusion or moha is about being really confused and bewildered in the present. So in a modern expression, of course, it could mean that confusion is paralyzing doubt or brain fog, and we're not in the right frame of mind to make decisions. Lamentation could be regret, nostalgia, remorse. Some unresolved issues could be not being able to forgive people or anything else. Bhaya or fear is about thinking about the future in a negative way, not being optimists. So what if I end up alone? What if I get rejected in this job? Or what if I fail in this very important mission or project that I'm working on? That kind of holds us back. So this is something we'll cover a lot more in the text as we follow. If you look at how emotions play out, it's many psychologists view that emotions need to be named. So having a label for emotions is important. You have to feel, deal, and heal. That's another model people talk about when it comes to having these negative emotions. You have to feel where it is, you have to label them, you have to have a positive cue to work on almost like a program. When you have a negative emotion, when you label it, you have a positive cue to start a streak of an action or thought which replaces the negative thought or action. So many psychologists, many self-help books have focused on this in a beautiful way. And I feel this chart, which we'll be discussing, is how fear is about dread, but how the Gita looks at converting all of these clusters of emotions, negative emotions, grief, confusion, shame, anger, resentment, numbness, loneliness, hopelessness, yearning, into their corresponding positive, emotional word choices. But it goes even beyond that. It also gives you a map through various sutras, which are these shlokas all across the Gita. So someone who studies the Gita is amazed by how in different verses in different chapters you find that path from a negative emotion to a positive emotion for 18 such negative emotions. So that's why when we look at the Gita, we should look at it as a original self-help book and a life manual. So yes, we did cover this, the yoga of despair, and how Arjun is kind of gathered at the field of Kurukshetra, but wants to, in a way, check out uh, why he's there. And that existential crisis leads him to ask uh, for some time or a pause to understand his situation. So he has a perception which is very philosophical and based on some philosophical speculations he's got in his head. He's heard of many things. What is righteous duty? So there's how societies should function. How you should respect your elders, your relatives, and kutum has to be kept together. So many, very good, very positive sattvic thoughts he has. However, the field of battle requires him to go to his true nature and also understand that his true nature is Satchit Anand. And sometimes true bliss is not for yourself. It's about seeing bliss in the higher order of things, or what divinity expects you to do with your swabhav. And your nature is this defined by that swabhav that has been given to you, which could, in some ways, when we cover yoga of work or karma yoga in later discussions, we'll understand swadharma, sanatan dharma, how can both be aligned, what is the confusion, why do we think that we can leave the yoga practice just at 5 a.m. and then when 9 a.m. reality hits, we sort of throw it out of the door or window. So the Gita teaches us how to align both, and that's for later. But yes, this is part of the Mahabharata. It's a very big, voluminous text. It's got all the action, melodrama, intrigue, deceit, even battles and wars, so romance, many other things. It's a very interesting itihas text with 100,000 verses. The Gita, in short, has only 700 verses, but it's called the essence of all Vedas. So in 700 verses, we unpack all there is in the whole body of our Eastern wisdom literature. So even if some of our texts might have got burnt or destroyed or not passed down through oral tradition, if we can preserve the Gita and also the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is another Bhagavad Puran, Vishnu Puran rendition, that is enough to keep society sane or give it that North Star that it needs. So it's very important to understand the Gita in contemporary contexts. And the reason we are gathered here is to pretty much unpack the Gita. So yes, we have immediate pressures of our day-to-day jobs, tasks, projects, deadlines, or even things that need to be dealt with, our health or relationships, or even our financial situations, whatever else need to be dealt with, or even just the earthquake that we had 2 days in a row in Delhi NCR area. So, but yes, we also aspire to live a life of spirituality and kind of get a sense of inner, not just peace, but a connection with our definition of divinity, to have that continuous relationship with everyone else in a spirit of yagna or sacrifice. And again, in the Karma Yoga chapters, we'll unpack what yagna is and how it's so important. So yes, we do need to figure out how to deal with this. So yes, I've given some basic ideas of how the Gita is such an important text. It's the only wisdom text in the world, that is extremely tangible and usable. Uh, it gives us a model on how to ascend from this framework of suffering that we have to sacred love and making our life an offering of sacred love and having compassion for all beings. It's a soul science, so which means that the soul's reality is not based on identities. It's not like I'm Indian, I'm Pakistani, I'm Hindu, I'm Muslim, I'm Christian, I'm Jewish. The soul has its own journey, and if we use uh, the principles from the Gita and unpack the wisdom, we can make our life an offering of sacred love, which would help us become Atmarama, equipoised, and also find inner peace by doing compassionate acts to all beings. So it's also called the Darshan Shastra because it is something which changes our perception and transforms our day-to-day living. And when you look at Darshan Shastras, the word darshan or vision, spiritual vision, is something we all yearn to sort of build out. And this would be a very good forum to really understand what spiritual vision means. Is it going to a temple and looking at a deity? Well, yes, for some people that could work. So there's no one thing, or it could be about reading these books and discussing, or it could be just using your talent and skills, maybe to write poems, stories, or even sing or perform with that intention in mind, where you offer what you do as part of the harmony cycle which divinity has created. Krishna has so beautifully outlined. So it is something that we need to keep in mind. So I'll pause here and we'll, take in some reflections. So the Gita Mahatmya, we were basically talking about how Gita is a text which helps Arjun deal with the very public meltdown at the most critical time of action in his life on the field of Kurukshetra. And then compare this, even if you think of it as, okay, fine, this is one spiritual text and there are other world literature texts available. How do those texts start? In most of them, there is no human questioning or there's no crisis in the beginning. They begin with some cosmic declaration or divine assurance that God will take care of us if we follow the righteous path. God is great, this and that. So the Torah, the Bible, the Quran, most of them have mostly declarations or assurances right in the first few verses. Whereas here we're talking about Dhritarashtra announcing that, okay, I just need to know what is happening. So his field of vision is kind of known, and then we hear Duryodhan, and then we hear Krishna and Arjun somewhat. Okay,
So,
so yeah,
Arjun, one question. Yeah, one question.
yes,
You mentioned the negative emotions, and you mentioned both lust and greed. So,
yes.
could you elaborate on that? Does lust mean only physical lust, or because lust thing also involves an element of greed?
Oh yes, absolutely. I mean, it's so these are clusters. Lust is the broader cluster, as in the superset, and greed is part of it. So when we look at desire for something, uh, that's fine. We can use a filter and say, okay, our desire is to get that iPhone. I've seen the billboard. It's triggered something in me that I need to get the iPhone, but I don't have the money. And I don't want to take EMIs or loans because I don't have a credit history. But I keep desiring it. I keep going to the store, playing with that phone, the sample gadgets that they have. It becomes really an intense form of deliberation that I need to have this. It's like kid in a candy store. You just need to get this, and then you want that, and you want this. So and uh, but if you act on that lust in a way that it overtakes your ability to reason, and you suffer consequences because of, say, stealing the phone, Yeah, that is what suffering really means. So yes, even greed is in that same family of lust. So it's not just about sexual lust or craving. In fact, lust is considered in our text as the last anartha to overcome. It is so difficult. And again, it's not just about relational or whatever sexual urges. So that's not what lust really means in the Gita. It's just one part of that definition.
Then
Does that?
could you elaborate on greed then, so that the difference is clear?
Yeah, I mean, I'll have to actually unpack it with you, to be honest. But yes, like I said, it's part of that cluster. Greed is what Duryodhan was, in a way, all about. He was looking at life on how can I win at any cost. It's my way or the highway. I'm not willing to give even a pinprick, uh, something which was actually rightfully owned by someone else to uh, to them in an honorable way, even if they were willing to let go of their entire claim to the kingdom. They were happy with just 5 villages. He would not really look at that. It was that greed which was linked to his ego, which led to his downfall. So I think these words can be looked at through stories, and it gave us a lot more clarity. Greed in a common terminal, in what terminology would also, if you look at corporate life or capitalism, we have been trained to accept greed as normal. It's normalized. And I think that's why it's very hard for us to differentiate what greed is or what our need is. And because society tells us to feel in a certain herd mentality that if you do this, you're normal. If you don't do this, if you don't have this, you're normal. If you don't have that, you're abnormal. So it's triggers greed in people. Does that also help this explanation, or is something else that you're looking for?
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. So, yeah, I think moving on to the last section of today's discussion, which I had in mind, was to share this slide. I'll just have my screen up again. Okay, so if you can see this slide completely, that's about the Gita. It has 3 sections. One is Karma Yoga, which teaches us how to live well. The second, which is the jewel in the box, is the Yoga of Love or Bhakti Yoga, which is how to love well. And also the Yoga of Wisdom or Gyan Yoga. The result of wisdom should be how to be not too attached to this material world, because this is your temporary existence. And attached doesn't mean you don't do your duties or run away. So how to let go of the fruits of your actions, or let go of all your lust, anger, greed, pride, envy, and attachment. So it's a very interesting way to group this knowledge. The Karma Yoga provides us the base for this metaphorical, symbolic jewel box. The Bhakti Yoga is actually the juice which will flow all areas, which includes wisdom and karma. If you are developing Bhakti Yoga, and I think very often Bhakti is considered as blind faith, but the Gita really explains what that really means. So when you talk about yagna, harmony cycle, uninterrupted, uh, uninterruptedly having that flow of compassion for all beings, being equipoised, not having attachment for the fruits of our work, and knowing how you contribute to the harmony cycle in the world. All of these things are addressed, or rather reinforced, through bhakti. So it's the mood with which we live in this world is bhakti. So in a way, our work needs to be done skillfully in whichever, say, field or naturally what your swabhav is to in a particular profession. We need to be very knowledgeable, up to date, know how to use all AI agents, tools, whatever, uh, but have that mood of bhakti. So then your life becomes a lot less stressful. Actually, you open the door to divinity and you take shelter or sharnagati in these wisdom texts, and you really figure out how to let go, because life becomes a lot more easy. Divinity or the world provides what you will need and preserve what you have. So I think that shelter gives us that very deep-seated belief that things will be okay. So very often we struggle because we don't think things will be okay. And the Gita really reassures that. So it's a positive psychology book as well, most divine level. So I'll end with that. But any thoughts on this slide? So the numbers marked here are the chapters. So the yoga of success is Karma Yoga, and we'll go really deep into that. And chapters 7 to 12 are yoga of love or bhakti yoga, and the yoga of wisdom. More on this later. So thank you so much, and look forward to seeing you tomorrow.
Thank you. Thank you.